Right now, a proposed tuition increase for the universities of Wisconsin. What students looking to go to UW-Madison may have to pay.
Plus, how Wisconsin is helping people in Texas reeling from the weekend's devastating floods.
And we're seeing a few isolated storms right now. I'll have your full evening forecast coming up.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pretty humid, typical July day for us out there.
Yeah, it feels nice outside. A little clouds, a little bit of sun, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that shade's important. Jacob Montesano joins us with a first look at our first warn forecast. Jacob?
Yeah, very July right now. The good news is that it's not warmer than what it's supposed to be. Right now, we're in the middle to lower 80s. So overall, definitely could be worse. Definitely on the warmer side out there, but it is July after all. Heat index values are in the 80s as well. So for the most part, certainly not too uncomfortable outside. Now, we are dealing with some showers and storms, very isolated, I should point out. Some of the heavier rain is further west near the Mississippi River. Not expected to see any severe weather, but we definitely could see a few pockets of heavy rain. Again, it all depends on where some of these storms fire up, but they are going to continue for the next couple of hours, probably until around 8 to 9 p.m. Then once we get a little bit later into the night, we'll see clearer conditions, but we are going to see some foggy conditions by the time we get to Wednesday morning, but the rain should end at the latest around 10 to 11 p.m. Now, as we take a look at the evening forecast, again, temperatures are going to remain pretty comfortable. We'll see on and off cloud cover, small chance of a storm for any given location. Some areas may miss out entirely. Others could see a brief period of heavy rain. And then overnight, we'll see lows in the 60s. And like I mentioned, we are going to see some fog for Wednesday morning. But I'll continue talking about the forecast for the rest of the week coming up a bit later.
Thank you, Jacob. And the weather in Texas continues to be a big story. At least 109 people are dead. And we've just learned 161 people remain missing after those flash floods slammed Texas Hill County.
Search and rescue missions are going around the clock. And as our Arman Rahman found out, they're calling in assistance from across the country, including right here in Wisconsin.
One of the nation's worst flash floods in decades in Hill Country, Texas, is requiring help from all corners of the United States, including here in Wisconsin, where firefighters from Menominee, Green Bay, and Janesville, as well as emergency personnel from Volk Air Base, just shipped out.
It is, unfortunately, at this point, a recovery mission.
Wisconsin Task Force 1 deployed at 5 a.m. Tuesday morning after an initial call went out for help nationwide Sunday night. Previously, the task force went down to North Carolina last fall to help with Hurricane Helene, and program manager Matt Davies says flood-ravaged areas require all hands on deck.
It can be pretty daunting. Think of the biggest pile of logs you've ever seen in your life, and that's one part of what they have to go through, depending, if the river has a curve in it. All of that stuff that's coming down the river will get piled up in that corner, and then the water will keep going. Well, that entire pile, if we didn't have the canines, would have to be basically torn apart by hand, by machines, to see if anyone is in there.
The convoy went down with 2 vehicles and trailers, 3 canines, and a UTV to help access backcountry areas. Tonight at 5, hear what else our local agencies are doing to help those in need. For now, reporting in Madison, Arman Rahman, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Arman. And you can help by donating. Scan this QR code to go to the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund's website. Anything you give goes directly to vetted organizations providing rescue, relief, and recovery efforts, as well as help with food.
Universities of Wisconsin President Jay Rothman wants to increase tuition. Today, Rothman proposed increasing resident undergrad tuition by up to 5% for the 2025-26 academic year. And that would increase tuition by 4% at all universities with an optional 1%. All schools except for Green Bay have agreed to the extra 1%. For UW-Madison, the proposed resident undergrad and segregated fees for that year would be $12,166. The Board of Regents will consider the plan on July 10th.
Education advocates are warning that a loan cancellation program that helps government employees could become a tool for political retribution. Public service loan forgiveness cancels loans for people like teachers and firefighters who have made payments for 10 years. But the Education Department is preparing to strip the benefit from organizations involved in, quote, illegal activities. The definition for those activities centers on immigration immigration, terrorism, and transgender issues. The final decision would be left up to the Education Secretary.
Wisconsin can now institute a ban on conversion therapy. The state Supreme Court issued a ruling this morning, giving Governor Tony Evers more power over how laws are enacted. The Liberal majority ruled a Republican-controlled legislative committee's rejection of a state agency rule that banning this practice is unconstitutional. This ruling has implications beyond a conversion therapy ban. However, political reporter Will Keneally will explain what else could be affected later on Live at 4.
The man involved in a fight outside of a bar in Grant County late last month has died. The fight happened just before 1 in the morning on June 29th. This was at the Shipwreck Bar in the village of Bagley. One person ended up in the hospital due to injuries. After an investigation, deputies arrested a 34-year-old man from Illinois. He posted bond and was released. The sheriff's office says the man who went to the hospital was found dead in his home in Fenimore on June 30th. The coroner is still working to determine how he died. The fight remains under investigation.
Well, battling cancer is a journey both the patient and the family go on together. And for one Fitchburg family, they used a treatment program that made that journey just a little easier.
Our Jalen Banks brings us the story of how palliative care helped the Conlon family.
Meet Debbie, a longtime healthcare worker and Fitchburg resident. Debbie, recently retired, is entering a new chapter of her life as a grandmother. Unfortunately, things took a turn recently when her husband, Peter, passed away from cancer in June. Losing a loved one to a disease has been hard, but palliative care, a special program for those living with a severe illness, has softened the blow for Debbie and their family. Palliative care is an extra layer of care that focuses on the needs of the patient and not their prognosis. It includes a team of social workers, chaplains, nurses, and doctors dedicated to the family and patient going through the battle.
What's our goal for today? What can we be positive about today? What do we want to do today? Maybe it's just get them out on the back porch and hear the birds or see the flowers, right? So every day we kind of had those discussions that I felt like were started with palliative care about how do we make today important or special.
Debbie encourages people to inquire about palliative care if one of their loved ones is dealing with a severe illness. For now, reporting in Fitchburg and honoring Peter, Jalen Banks, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Jalen. For more information on palliative care, you can find it on our website, channel3000.com.
Well, a lack of firefighters is becoming a growing problem in rural parts of Wisconsin.
In our next half hour, Kyle Pazorski shows us a local fire chief's plea.
Plus, Jacob has the First Warn forecast. He's checking out the forecast for tomorrow's Concerts on the Square performance, and we'll look ahead to the weekend as well when we come back.
And the changes you might see at the airport soon when Live at 4 continues. President Trump is meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for a second day in a row. The two will discuss efforts to reach a ceasefire in Gaza. It follows a cabinet meeting at which the president said he would sign an order placing a 50% tariff on copper and a 200% tariff on pharmaceutical drugs. The president also says he was unhappy with Russian President Vladimir Putin and that ending the war between Russia and Ukraine has been tougher than he expected. To Wall Street, the Dow dropped 166 points. The Nasdaq is up 6 points and the S&P 500 is down 4 points.
Well, whether it's international conflicts or economic uncertainty, it's common to feel like the world is piling on top of your own concerns, especially as you make financial decisions. 90% of all financial decisions are made emotionally when your anxiety is in overdrive. Experts say you should consider how that might influence your decisions.
When I can recognize, wow, I feel a lot of fear right now. Maybe it's fear about what's going on in the world. That's a good time to take a pause if I'm looking at making a financial decision, even as small as buying the latte, and assess what is really going on.
Regardless of nerves, there are some universal tips to save during times of economic uncertainty, and they include putting more money into a high-yield savings account and a retirement account.
Attention travelers, pretty soon you'll be able to keep your shoes on at the airport. The TSA is phasing out its nearly 20-year policy requiring airline passengers to remove their shoes at TSA checkpoints. The plan is getting a slow rollout at several airports across the country. It's expected the TSA will just let the old shoe removal policy expire.
Already, if you were a pre-check flyer, you weren't taking your shoes off. And at peak times when they would bring a dog through the line, people weren't taking their shoes off, even in general security. And there's been an argument for a while that the body scanner technology that people go through in general security is sufficient enough to detect threats. TSA is also developing additional scanners that are even better at sensing it.
The policy went into effect back in 2006, several years after Richard Reed tried to blow up an American Airlines plane with explosives hidden in his shoe. His attempt was unsuccessful, but pointed out a weak spot in security screening measures.
Well, Amazon Prime Day is here. Economists expect Americans to spend about $24 billion during the four-day sales event. Other major retailers, including Walmart, Target, and Kohl's, are also getting in on the action. They're holding rival sales of their own. So if you plan on shopping, experts recommend using price check tools and stacking discounts with a cashback app.
A new study shows tailoring your workouts to your personality will help you be a little more motivated. Researchers randomly sorted 132 participants into two groups. For their workouts, one group followed a cycling and strength plan. The other, a 10 minutes per week stretching plan. Researchers found extroverts enjoyed the higher intensity workouts. People described as more neurotic enjoyed home-based, lighter sessions. The study's authors hope their findings encourage people to find alternative ways of exercise outside of traditional workouts that they may dislike.
That's very interesting. If you're working out this afternoon, you'll feel the humidity in the air, but it's a nice summer day out there, Jacob.
Yeah, overall temperatures definitely could be worse out there, and for the most part, they're not going to be worse. They're going to remain in the 80s, which is certainly good news considering it is the warmest time of the year, and we don't have any days in the forecast that look brutally hot. Now, we are going to see a few storms. Small chance for tomorrow and Thursday. Most of the day will be completely dry. Better chance will come Friday into Saturday, where we are going to see storms a lot more likely. Now, I also want to point out that tomorrow we are going to see some patchy fog out there. Could see some visibilities down to around a mile, so definitely just be aware if you are driving to work, maybe just take it a little extra slow. It's not going to be as bad, certainly by the afternoon, and also not as bad for Thursday morning. Also want to point out that the air quality right now is at moderate levels, so not too bad, but obviously not perfect. And as we take a look at the wildfire smoke forecast, we are going to see potentially some more smoke kind of move back into the area. So this may be something that we may have to talk again about as we get towards the end of the week. Now, looking at the current radar, we are seeing some of those isolated showers and storms, some just to the east of Dane County, others further to the west near the Mississippi River. These are expected to continue for the next couple of hours. Not expected to see severe weather, but these definitely could produce heavy rain. Should be very brief, but it's also possible a lot of the area won't see any rain at all. Definitely just keep an eye on the radar for up to date rainfall, and as we get into the overnight hours, it will clear out. And then for tomorrow, we're going to see a good amount of sunshine for much of the day. Can't completely rule out an isolated shower or storm, but for the most part, we won't see much. Now, fast forwarding to Thursday night and Friday, we'll see some showers and storms, but especially once we get into Friday night and into early Saturday, that's where we're going to see a line of those showers and storms roll through. Could potentially bring severe weather, although it doesn't look like we're going to see a big severe weather day. But with the nature of this line of storms, it definitely could be possible. And some of that rain is going to continue into early Saturday. So to kind of recap those rain chances, again, it's mainly going to be Friday into Friday night, but we could see some of that continue Saturday. And then we are going to be dry for Sunday before more rain moves back into the area early next work week. Now, looking at concerts on the square tomorrow, it does look pretty good as we're just going to see that small chance of those thunderstorms. We'll see a good amount of sunshine early. Maybe an isolated shower, but for the most part, it is going to be very dry, and temperatures are also going to be pretty comfortable during this time as well. So for the most part, looking pretty good for tomorrow and looking pretty good for a lot of the next 10 days, with the exception of that Friday into Saturday. Next week's storms a bit up in the air right now. And the temperatures, as I mentioned, not really going to change all that much, which is certainly some good news.
That is good news. Thank you, Jacob. And for tomorrow night's concert on the Square, the weather looks great and you can lay your blankets out beginning at 3 o'clock, and then the music kicks off at 7. Tomorrow's performance is called American Song. It will celebrate the mixed tapestry of 20th century music. Our morning anchor, Kyrian Lee, and meteorologist Savannah Brito will be live on the King Street corner of the Capitol Square with our evening anchor, Eric Franke. We'll have coverage throughout our evening newscasts. It all starts right here tomorrow on Live at 4. We hope to see you there.
Also happening tomorrow, Elphaba and Glinda return to Madison. They must be coming to concerts on the Square. No, Wicked will be on display at the Overture Center. Crews were setting up today for the 4th longest running show in Broadway history. 13 semi-trailer trucks worth of equipment are being unloaded into the Overture Center for preparation. News 3 Now had the chance to talk with the manager of the operation about what to expect.
Kind of what happened before Dorothy dropped into the Wizard of Oz. We kind of tell how the Wicked Witch became wicked and Glinda the Good, how she became Glinda the Good, and are they really who they say they are?
And you can still buy tickets. Prices vary. You can see all available dates, times, and seats at overture.org. The show runs through Sunday, July 27th. We have our Wicked colors on.
Yeah, we
do.
Some
green, some pink. We're
That's
ready.
true. That's true. Coming up on Live at 4. Well, July 4th has come and gone, but we still have plenty of grilling season ahead of us.
That's right. If you're looking to impress your guests, we have a chef from Jones Dairy Farm to show you how to elevate your burgers.
Question for you. Do you ever go to a restaurant just to order a really great burger?
Yeah, and then you try to make it at home, and it's never the same.
It's never the same.
No matter how hard you try. Our next guest is showing us some tips and tricks to make your own, no takeout required. Chef Kate Kona with Jones Dairy Farm is firing up this indoor grill with us.
Yes. Hi, Kate.
Show us. Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
So first of all, these are pork burgers, right?
These are pork. So we're using our original roll sausage, which is only 3 ingredients, pork, salt, spices.
Perfect.
So it does not get cleaner, first of all. Fabulous flavor. The spice profile is just perfect. All we're going to add is a little bit of salt to the burgers, and that's it. So
now you're going to make smash burgers, right?
Yes. So the trick to smash burgers is you make them super thin, right? So you want, after we put them on the grill, and I just have, our roll sausage is a full 16 ounces. So we're making 8 burgers, 2 ounces each. So I have them pre-measured, right? And we're just going to spray this a little bit here so that this doesn't stick.
And you don't need a fancy weight. That's just a measuring cup.
You don't. You can use a measuring cup.
That's a great tip.
Yeah, you can use the bowl, the bottom of a bowl, anything that's about that size. And you just want to smash them out just like that. They don't have to be perfect by any means. Actually, I like them better when they're kind of abstract and not perfect. So just smash them out so they get nice and thin. The goal is that you want them to get super crispy around the edges, and that's when you know that they're going to be ready to flip. So super thin, and then we're going to drizzle them after I get the rest of these smashed out here.
How many average minutes on a side do you grill
Honestly,
them?
it's only going to be about 2 minutes on this side, and then we're going to flip it and another minute. So these are super fast.
Yeah, and I like, you can do this outside on the grill, but sometimes it's rainy, it's too humid. You're using this handy dandy griddle.
Yeah.
And is that like just showing how easy this can be to do at home?
It is, absolutely. You can use a griddle, you can use a cast iron. If you don't even want to break out the griddle, do a cast iron. And if you do them on the grill, just either put like a sheet pan, if you don't have a Blackstone or something like that, put a sheet pan down. That works great too.
It smells really nice
And
in here.
well, you're also grilling some of the Jones Dairy Farm famous bacon.
Yes, well, of course, we're going to make these smash burgers even more delicious because we're going to add some of our bacon, right? So I'm just doing a little drizzle of mustard. That can cook. And then if you two want to mix up the sauce, we're making this special burger sauce that we're going to put on here. So
Go ahead, Brady.
All right.
the burger sauce is, and Brady, remember last time I didn't have anything for you to scoop? There's a little spatula there.
Oh, look at that.
Okay.
We've upgraded.
Yeah. So we have ketchup.
Okay. About how much?
It's about a half a cup of ketchup.
Okay.
We've got about a 1/4 cup of mayo that's going in there.
Oh, so this is like
I'll
the
take this
fancy
from you.
stuff you find at restaurants.
Yeah. A little bit of mustard, about 2 teaspoons, of mustard.
Just yellow mustard?
Yellow mustard. A little splash of vinegar.
I feel like, remember when Lucy was on the chocolate
With the
conveyor
chocolate,
belt?
yeah.
I'm trying to keep up.
Put some in your mouth as you go. Yeah. And then this is just a mixture of a little bit of onion powder, garlic powder, and paprika.
Okay. So you can just make that at home and...
You can, absolutely. There's a little whisk there for you if you want to whisk them up.
There you go.
Whiskey business.
So we're gonna give these a flip. And then after you flip them, then we're gonna pop our cheese on top.
Now with pork, do you have to be careful to make sure that it's thoroughly cooked?
We do, yes. So with burgers, you can cook them a little bit under, right? They can be a little bit under, fully done. They can still be a little pink, not a problem. With pork, definitely you wanna make sure that you cook them thoroughly. So if they're very thin and you do that 2 minutes on one side and 1 minute on the other, you will be good.
Oh, your sauce looks good, Brady. Well done.
You know,
Good
I do
job.
okay when I've had my 8 hours of sleep. No,
All right.
and like all these little things, like these little extra things you can do really just makes a nice presentation for your guests.
Yes, yes, and then you serve them up. I mean, just as simple as some chips, some fresh watermelon. We've got some sweet tea. This is gonna melt for just a minute here and we can talk about this delicious bacon. So that is our cherrywood extra thick, dry aged center cut bacon. There's no other bacon like
Yeah,
it. So
it's cooking really nicely.
I know you said you haven't tried it
haven't
yet,
tried
so I'm
it.
super excited for you to taste it, but I don't want you to burn your mouth either. So we'll give it.
We better wait.
We'll give it just a minute, and then we're just gonna build it. So I have this little basket. We can build it right in here. Brady, you want to put some sauce on there, please?
Yeah.
You can do sauce on the top and the bottom.
And I
Just
think
scoop some right on.
we are almost out of time, so
Okay.
this is going to be a rapid assembly.
Awesome. So you're gonna do your sauce.
Okay.
We're gonna do burger number 1,
Do you put it on both sides of the bun?
burger number 2. I do. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not?
Get saucy
And then
with
we
it.
have some pickle slices. We've got some fresh shredded lettuce.
This looks out of this world. I wish you could
Ooh.
smell it at home. It
Top it.
smells so amazing.
I'm telling you, smell-o-vision. It needs to be a thing, right?
And then before we go to break, could you tell people where they can go to find some of these tips and products?
Yes, the recipe for the smash burgers also is on the website, but recipes, all that good stuff is on the website too, jonesdairyfarm.com. There's a recipe tab, there's a product finder tab where you put in your zip code. If you want the bacon or the roll sausage, it'll tell you exactly which store to go to.
Ta-da! We did it! All right,
That
Kate.
was awesome, thank
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Kate. Great to see you.
Thank you.
And maybe we'll be right back. We'll be busy.
Give that a bite. Hello, everybody. Good to have you with us on this Tuesday edition of Live at 4.
I'd say between the grilling and then the weather outside, it really feels like July, doesn't it?
And the bacon wafting through the building.
I've never grilled in a soup before.
Yes, exactly. Let's take a look outside today. It is a nice summer day in Madison. A little bit of clouds, but no rain. Some sunshine and warm temperatures. Staying seasonable are the weather words today.
We like that. Jacob Montesano joins us with a look at our first warn forecast.
Yeah, although it is going to continue to be warm, we're not expecting any days to be in that brutally hot zone, which is certainly good news. Now, we are seeing some showers out there. Most of the area not seeing anything right now. Also seeing a few isolated storms on top of it. Right now, the heaviest rain is a little bit further to the west near the Mississippi River, but really the entire area has at least a small chance to see an isolated storm this evening. But if it does rain, it will be pretty brief, and this is expected to continue for the next couple of hours. Probably until the latest around 11 p.m. But again, if it does rain, it will be very brief. And then once we get towards Wednesday morning, we are going to be dry. Now, as I mentioned, temperatures are going to be pretty consistent to what we're seeing today over the next week. Highs in the lower 80s, maybe middle 80s for some areas. Could even see a few upper 70s here and there. And heat index values are staying below 90. For the most part, I do see 190 in the Dells. But beyond that, not too bad at all out there, considering it is the warmest time of the year. And throughout the evening, it's going to be very comfortable. Again, small chance of an isolated storm, but if it doesn't rain, conditions this evening will be pretty much perfect. And then overnight, we're going to see pretty comfortable temperatures as well. Lows in the mid 60s. We will see some fog, so I'll talk more about that. And I'll also talk more about our next good chance of rain coming up a bit later.
Thank you, Jacob. A new survey is showing inadequate staffing and a lack of financial resources are the primary issues facing fire departments across Wisconsin.
Our Kyle Pazorski shares the findings and what an Iowa County fire chief believes is the root cause.
A recently published survey of more than 400 Wisconsin fire chiefs found several issues impacting fire departments across the Badger State. One of those is a lack of adequate numbers of firefighters to respond to calls. The findings showed that 62% of chiefs are worried they will be unable to adequately staff their first two apparatuses in the next year. It's a problem especially true for rural communities, a vast majority of which are staffed by volunteers. Chief Todd Pinkham of Arena Fire and EMS says he and other chiefs in southwestern Wisconsin are all facing a similar and prevalent problem, a lack of interest in people looking to join the departments.
We've tried Facebook advertising, putting posts out, hey, we have fire EMS classes come out. We really need volunteers. We need help. Please join. We get minimal response, if any.
He says a way to possibly improve recruiting is by holding more events encouraging community. That's where he says departments can reach out to people trying to get them interested in joining up. Another finding shows chiefs are seeing more and more employers refusing to let workers leave to respond to calls. In Arena, Kyle Pazarski, News 3 Now.
Kyle, thank you. It was in February of this year where both the village and the town of Arena came to a new agreement to fund the fire and EMS district for the next 10 years.
We now know the name of the man who died after crews recovered his body from Lake Mendota last weekend. The Dane County Medical Examiner's Office has identified the body as 40-year-old Morgan Kroll of Madison. A passerby reported seeing him floating about 50 feet offshore near the Memorial Union just after 6 in the morning. A forensic examination was completed on Monday, and the cause and manner of Kroll's death are still pending. Kroll's death remains under investigation by the UW-Madison Police Department. The Wisconsin Supreme Court today handed down a victory for the Evers administration.
Political reporter Will Keneally is at the state capitol with the latest.
This harkens back to that old Schoolhouse Rock example. So lawmakers can pass a bill, the governor will sign that bill into law. This, though, deals with a lower level of law called administrative rules. Now, how that would work, for example, is lawmakers might say they want to pass a bill limiting PFAS pollution in water, for example. Now, the administrative rule would set the level of that PFAS pollution. Now, today, the state Supreme Court ruled that the Republican-controlled legislature cannot block these rules from being put into place. Now, this can have wide-ranging impacts.
The work is in the rules. So you have to know at what level is the water considered safe or not safe. And that's a huge process. It involves the DNR, the DHS, all kinds of experts, all kinds of research. So the things that actually touch our lives are these rules.
Now, this can have wide-ranging impacts on things like bans to conversion therapy. And we'll have more on this coming up tonight at 6. Reporting from the state capitol, Will Keneally, News 3 Now.
We will see you at 6, Will. Thank you. Governor Evers, in a statement, called the ruling a victory, saying in part that this is an incredibly important decision that will ensure state government can do our important work efficiently.
A federal judge wants the Department of Justice's case against a Milwaukee County judge to move forward. The judge has recommended Hannah Dugan's bid to dismiss the indictment against her be denied. Federal law enforcement officers arrested Dugan in April. She was charged with obstruction for allegedly helping a man in her court evade immigration authorities. She pleaded not guilty and has argued that she was acting within the scope of her official duties. A jury trial was set to begin July 21st, but has been delayed. With President Trump's spending and tax cuts bill now law, several provisions will affect the workforce.
What it means for workers who make tips when we come back.
And Jacob has your forecast for concerts on the square tomorrow.
Breaking news this afternoon, the Dane County Sheriff's Office is investigating a double homicide in Middleton.
We've learned at 2:21 this afternoon, deputies responded to a home on Stonebrook Circle after a man and woman were found dead. Detectives are still investigating the circumstances around these deaths. They say information is limited right now, but as soon as we know anything, we will too. We have a crew on the way to the scene.
You can receive updates about this story and any other directly to your phone and all other breaking news with the free Channel 3000 mobile app. President Trump's tax cuts and spending bill is now law, and many American workers will see its impacts. Workers who get paid overtime will get a $12,500 tax deduction in the 2025 tax season, but that expires at the end of 2028. A workforce Pell Grants provision is expected to take effect in July 1st of next year. It would extend the federal need-based education grant to students in an eligible workforce program for high skill, high demand, and high wage jobs.
And that's not all. In that bill is a fulfilled campaign promise for the president: no tax on tips.
Our Ellie La Liberté breaks down if that promise will help Wisconsin workers.
For Wisconsinites in various different industries, making tips is an essential part of making a living. So I look to find out if this legislation helps them do that. With this provision, workers will be able to deduct up to $25,000 in tips annually from their taxable income. However, if an employee makes more than $150,000 a year, their tipped income will start to be taxed. Susan Qualm with the Wisconsin Restaurant Association says it will apply to any profession that's already associated with tipping.
Being part-time, you're not bringing in, as much money as if you were working full-time. So I think it's going to be really helpful for them. And then for our full-time tipped employees, it's still going to be, fairly significant for some of them.
A May report from the White House's Council of Economic Advisors estimates that eliminating this tax on tips for eligible workers will increase take-home pay by roughly $1,600. Now, under this budget bill, the tip tax cut only extends through 2028. So theoretically, Congress could restrict or abolish it in the future. Reporting in Madison, Ellie La Liberté, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Ellie. And although there are still some questions to how the IRS will apply this tax cut, it will be in effect for the entire 2025 taxed year.
Well, a lack of blood is affecting hospitals all over the country.
UW Health's Dr. Jeff Potoff stops by. We'll talk about the impacts on Wisconsin when Live at 4 continues. Well, it happens every summer, unfortunately. The blood supply across the country dips as people vacation and fewer blood drives are held at this time of the year.
The American Red Cross needs blood year-round and is working right now to prevent shortages. UW Health's Dr. Jeff Potoff is here for his weekly visit. Welcome back.
Hi, Dr. Potoff.
Yeah, so all blood types are needed. What type O is especially needed. Why is the demand so high?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think of blood products as something that we just use in trauma. So there's a car crash or someone's bleeding and they need blood, but it's a fair bit more complex than that. A lot of our oncology patients, the chemotherapy that we give them makes it so that they can't make their own red blood cells, and we often have to supplement them. A lot of women suffer from anemia, and then they might need blood transfusions. Some of the more complex surgeries that people have are associated with blood loss, and as much as we can try to save that person's blood, sometimes you need a transfusion to get that surgery done. So the demand is actually pretty high for these products.
And most people understand that, but the Red Cross told us that less than 3% of people who can donate blood actually choose to do it every year. Why is that?
I think part of it is everyone thinks everyone else is doing it.
Right.
No one is. Some people are a little bit needle phobic. They're like, hey, that sounds like they're going to need a needle. The other reason is there are things that would exclude you from giving blood, travel to certain locations, things like that. I think some people think that's permanent. So if they were ever once told they couldn't give blood, that they can never give blood again, that's typically not the case. So a lot of people are eligible to give blood that maybe don't realize that they can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when we do see low blood supply, how does that really affect hospitals and especially patient care?
Yeah, well, worst case scenario, what can happen is if you are a hospital and your blood bank's getting really low on blood, you may not be able to schedule that surgery that is going to require a lot of blood because you're worried about it. Or let's say we do get a really sick car crash victim who we're transfusing lots of blood. We start running into problems as far as can we give them blood that is perfectly matched to them, or do we have to switch to other things like fluids, which are good but not as good as blood?
Should everybody know what their blood type is?
I think as a curiosity, probably should. Don't we talk about our blood types at cocktail parties? I think from a practical standpoint, though, I'm never going to trust someone to tell me their blood type. I'm actually going to run it in the lab and make sure that there's no chance that they made a mistake and I give them something that could hurt them.
Well, that's one incentive to donate blood. They'll tell you your blood type, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know it.
Well, and then the other incentive, think about the people, the families that you could be helping who need it. That's a pretty good one there too.
I think that should be a big motivator. Blood is literally life-saving for some people. If they don't have it, they don't make it. If they have it, they make it. That's a way we can contribute to being heroes. Yeah.
What about donating platelets and plasma? Which is there a greater need for?
Yeah, I think in general, when people donate blood, they donate the whole thing. There are places that will just pull off your plasma. That can help you have a little more energy after you get done. But typically, I'd recommend do a normal blood donation organ where it's red cells, and then when it goes for processing, we pull off platelets, we pull off plasma, and then we use all those different components in different ways to help people.
Thank you very much for having this conversation.
Yeah, you bet.
Good to see you. Thanks,
Same.
Dr. Pada.
And let's get a check of our first foreign forecast. Meteorologist Jacob Montesano joins us now. Jacob.
Thanks, Brady. Here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. Temperature is going to be pretty consistently in the 80s going forward. Small chance of some storms for tomorrow and Thursday. Better chance of storms for Friday. Now, I do want to mention that we are going to see some patchy fog for Wednesday morning. Visibility could drop down to as low as a mile, maybe even less than a mile. So just take it a little bit easy if you know some of that fog on your way to work tomorrow. But obviously, it's going to improve throughout the day and not going to be as bad for Thursday morning. Also seeing some moderate air quality levels for a lot of the area. Not too bad, but obviously not perfect. And as we look at the wildfire smoke forecast, we may continue to see more of that smoke kind of push back into the area. So it is something that we may just have to deal with. Now, as we take a look at that rainfall right now, we are seeing very isolated showers and storms. These may continue for the next couple of hours. Not expected to see any severe weather, but they could produce some heavy rainfall. But if they do impact your area, it's probably going to be very brief, but these isolated storms could happen at any point from now until about 10 p.m. Once we get to midnight, just a few to the east, and then later in the night, we're almost certainly going to be dry by the time we get to sunrise for Wednesday. With dry conditions for much of Wednesday, although can't completely rule out an isolated shower or storm. However, most of the area should be dry all day with highs in the lower 80s, and contrast on the square does look to be pretty good right now, as we'll see comfortable temperatures for the month of July. Now, fast forwarding to Thursday night and Friday, that's when we're going to see more consistent rain move back into the area. And then for Friday, we have a chance of storms early for sure, but the better chance will come Friday night into Saturday, as we are going to see a line of these showers and storms roll through. Right now, we don't have an alert in the forecast, but we are keeping an eye on the potential for severe weather. The nature of this system will likely lend it to have some, but it doesn't look like we're going to see all that much. But we're certainly expecting some rain during this time. May last into Saturday afternoon as well. But temperatures not going to be too impacted by it. We're going to continue to see highs in the middle to lower 80s. That's going to be the case for next week as well, with a few other storm chances once we get to Tuesday and Wednesday. So overall, a very July-like forecast with those temperatures very close to normal and a few chances of rain throughout.
We are continuing to follow that breaking news in Middleton.
The Dane County Sheriff's Office is investigating a double homicide. It happened at about 2:20 this afternoon. A man and a woman were found dead at a home on Stonebrook Circle. Our Maddie Heimsch just arrived on the scene, and we're going to hear more from her about the situation at the top of the news at 5 o'clock. So you hope you'll stay with us then for the latest details.
And Jacob has a final look at our weather.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing a few small chances of storms this evening, but tomorrow and Thursday should be mostly dry. This time of year, you can never completely rule out the chance of rain, but it doesn't look very likely, and temperatures are going to be fairly comfortable as well. For Friday, we are going to see some storms later in the day, especially overnight into Saturday, and then Sunday looks pretty good right now.
Saturday and Sunday are art fair on the square, too.
Yeah,
So
Sunday
that's another big
especially
deal.
looks dry for now.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. We'll be right back. One City Schools in Madison is marking its 10-year anniversary. Straight ahead tonight at 5, how Wisconsinites are helping people in Texas with flood relief efforts. That'll do it for us today at 4, everybody. Hope to see you right back here tomorrow. You can always catch us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.